Hey, I'm Mark Holdaway with Kalimba Magic, and I've got a kalimba story for you. How did the world get this instrument? From this instrument. The answer runs straight through the life of Hugh Tracy. Hugh Tracy was born in 1903 in England into a large family of wealth and privilege. But in 1920, when his father died, they discovered the family was actually broke. So Mom sent 17-year-old Hugh to Africa to seek his fortune, where Hugh's brother ran a tobacco farm. Among the black African workers on the farm were people who played the Mbira, which Hugh fell in love with. By the 1930s, Hugh was traveling across borders around southern Africa, studying, documenting, and collecting traditional African instruments. Hugh would have seen instruments such as these. By the 1950s, Hugh had amassed an important collection of African instruments and field recordings, and he began working towards ILAM, the International Library of African Music. In order to fund the nonprofit ILAM, Hugh Tracy started the for-profit business African Musical Instruments, or AMI, to distribute African instruments worldwide. Most traditional African kalimbas have a rather idiosyncratic note layout, but certain traditional kalimbas had an alternating note layout. Hugh Tracy adopted this alternating note layout, but put it on a Western diatonic scale to make his first ever Hugh Tracy treble kalimba in the 1950s. With the diatonic alternating note layout, all sorts of wonderful melodies and harmonies pop out of the instrument almost naturally. In other words, Hugh Tracy shrank the Mbira into a beautiful music box. After making over 100 prototype instruments of different designs based on various aspects of traditional instruments, Hugh Tracy settled on 3 instruments: the treble kalimba for melodies, the alto kalimba for accompaniment, and the pentatonic kalimba for someone who doesn't know what they're doing but plays very enthusiastically anyway. To popularize the kalimba, Hugh's sons, Andrew and Paul, included kalimba music in a world-hit musical revue called Wait a Minute. This show, Wait a Minute, ran for about a year on Broadway and 6 years worldwide and really shot the kalimba into the public eye. When the head of Creative Playthings of Princeton, New Jersey saw the kalimba in the mid-1960s, he ordered 10,000 units and began sending them around America. Many people bought their first kalimba from a toy store. Maurice White saw one of these kalimbas in the late 60s in a shop window in Chicago. He bought it and followed the lead of Phil Coran, changing his tuning to a pentatonic scale, and he used it on Earth, Wind and Fire songs such as Kalimba Story and Evil. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, many people tried to duplicate the Hugh Tracy kalimba's success. In the early 2000s, Peter Hoekema invented the sansula, a popular modulation of the kalimba on a frame drum with mind-blowing special effects. Around 2015, high-quality, inexpensive kalimbas based on the Hugh Tracy treble kalimba design started coming out of China. There are now dozens of kalimba makers in China, but they are mostly copying the Hugh Tracy treble kalimbas. I didn't get a chance to meet Hugh Tracy. He died in 1977 before I even owned my first kalimba. But he did live long enough to see the success of his ideas taking over around the world. People even started copying his kalimbas. I did meet with his sons, Andrew and Paul, who are both still alive, and they certainly contributed to my understanding of the kalimba world and the kalimba evolution. As a guy who plays the Hugh Tracy kalimba every day of his life for the last 35 years, I take my hat off to Mr. Hugh Tracy. He definitely made a difference in this world, and he made a difference in my life.